So here's the thing. Landlords have been in a quandary recently. We're not the most amicable people when it comes to embracing tenants and their pets.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, our culture, as regards embracing pets into rental properties, is not the same as, let's say, North America. However, in recent times, because there's been an influx of welcome stamp guests,
Mm-hmm.
most of them see their pets as family. So it
Yes.
has put landlords in a position now where they have to be a little bit more open minded when it comes to embracing pets in the home. So that is something that has arisen in recent times. And also, some nice people rent the property, and once they're in and have satisfied, all the requirements on your rental application and so forth, only then do they mention, oh, by the way, I have
Yes.
Buster. I would have loved to move him in with me. I hope you could, make
Mm-hmm.
an exception. So what do
Mm-hmm.
we do?
What do you do then? But the pet pig. It's all well and good to breed a bird. You might breed a dog. Don't breed the sheep. Don't breed that kind of thing. So those are concerns that you're saying to me to be a little bit more open-minded. You calling that pig your family, and I'm supposed to give my property to that pig? What do I do?
So here's the deal. If you decided that, what, I don't want my property to be sitting empty, I'm going to be open minded. You have to first of all decide what are you amenable to accepting. So I know some owners who are like no cat whatsoever because they
Mm-hmm.
they picture if the property is furnished, for example, they picture their furniture being scratched up, fur all over
Yes.
the place. So they have said no cat, but we'll accept outdoor dogs. And
Mm-hmm.
then I have persons who said, okay, we'll accept dogs because there's some persons who see dogs as their kids and they're well trained.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, in your actual lease, you need to specify if you are amenable to accepting a pet, be specific about what you are accepting. Otherwise, you might get a rude awakening when you
Mm-hmm.
say, yeah, sure, pets allowed, and they turn up with their parakeets, their turtle, their pet sheep,
Mm-hmm.
and then the dog.
But I can be as specific as I want to be, but because I'm specific and I did not include something else, the tenant turns up with the something else. And they say, but hold on, my lease
Well,
says they did not say that I could not bring, and then you find yourself with a whole flock of geese and you don't understand what are they doing on my property? That kind
ah,
of thing. So how specific can one truly be at the end of the day?
okay. Okay, so remember at the end of the day, it is your rental property. You are in control, so take control and you use your lease as the mechanism to define the terms and conditions of the agreement. So let's say Pearson wants to come with two Rottweilers. You state specifically on that lease that you might be allowed to keep two dogs only up to 40 pounds on the premises.
Mm.
And you state that in the lease. If it's a cat, you are entitled to keep one cat only on your premises. And you put a little pet schedule attached to your lease that states these things that you also ensure that the tenant signs off on. What you can then further do, especially those who have furnished properties and might be allowing pets inside, you also request a pet deposit, pet security deposit.
Mm.
You can do that above and beyond the rental deposit for the tenant. So let's say the tenants are renting a property that's $2,000 a month and they pay a security deposit of $2,000. You can then perhaps state that, for your two dogs, I would like an additional $500
Yes.
security deposit, which is refundable once my property is intact at the end of stay. So all of that helps to safeguard you a bit.
How much consideration as a landlord should I give to the neighbors as well? Because I don't like she, I like he. So yes, bring your farm and come. How do I consider my neighbors when I'm creating this lease and agreement with my prospective tenant?
Well, yes, of course. One of the clauses that you should put in that pet schedule is, ensure that, for example, your pet is not a nuisance and that you have it under control at all times.
Yes.
You can even put in your schedule terms stating that if the pet is found unsupervised, that it is allowed that he is taken to some, like the RSPCA
Yes.
or wherever that takes care of pets, you put all of what is necessary to provide, peace and tranquility to the neighbors, minimize any issues coming back to you. You don't want somebody in there and the neighbors find you to complain to. So you make sure that that pet schedule has those types of details as well.
Yeah, it's at the tenant to ensure that those animals are kept tethered and protect the property of those around as well. So we can be sure to put that into our lease arrangement.
Yes.
So, but then again, it's at the agreement of the tenant to either comply or not.
Exactly. And other things that you should ensure are in there. I mean, we would think that this is a given, but it's not. You have to put in there that you are responsible for cleaning up all fecal matter and cleaning and
Yes.
sanitizing and removing pet dander. You have to put that in there. And not just put it in there, but say you have to use words like immediately.
Yes,
So
yes.
remove all such and such matter immediately.
Immediately.
Because next minute you turn up a year later and I can hold that before I move out. Don't worry about the pile that you see in the backyard.
Yeah,
So
you're
you
right.
have to think of all those factors. You
I
should
think,
also, especially,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I think sometimes you have to, as a landlord, you should be mindful too of how lenient you are, because there'll come the time when the property will be returned to you. And the changes made to that property will astound you if you're not paying close attention. That individual, because you've allowed him to have pets, set up a shed and what ants. And it's affecting the main property or other structures, and you are not even paying attention to what this tenant, because you said yes, it's allowed, was doing to your property.
Now, in the body of the lease itself, you usually have a clause saying that you are not allowed to,
Alter.
construct or add on or extend anything to your building or add a building or a structure without permission. So that should be in the body of the lease. So you should be in there deciding if this structure can work on your property or not. Furthermore, you always ensure that that clause about permitting inspection of the property with 24 hours or 48 hours notice is in the lease. Particularly when pets are involved, you need to check out your place intermittently to make sure that nothing has gone totally awry.
So true. The last thing you want is that cow moving through your property because the tenant is allowing it. You don't need that at all. So frequent enough inspections. You don't want to be a bother to your
Yes.
tenant, but at least observe, pay some attention to the whole thing. Be sure to have it documented in the lease, because that becomes your legal document that you can use now in the court of law if you need to enforce your
Yes.
rights. So all of those things are going to be absolutely critical. But having that relationship too with the tenant that says, we're open to discussion, we're open to talk. I'm not going to harass you, but at the same time, I want you to respect my positions as well, because I'll be keeping a tab on it. Is also going to be vital, I suppose.
And the two things I would say in closing: number one, if you're renting out your property, ask up front, do you have any pets? Because what I've noticed is that those prospective tenants who have pets, they never declare it up front. They
Yes.
get you to like them first. They even ask for the lease. They fill out all sorts of forms. Oh, by the way, my little 2 year, chow
Yes.
chow, you
Yes.
want to, you don't mind. So
Yes.
make sure you always ask up front, because they'll sneak that on you at the end, especially if they check out and you like them. And also make sure that you have a clause stating that at the end of tenancy, you must sanitize, disinfect, and deodorize the relevant areas of the property
Oh.
where the pets would have been kept.
Yeah, because we know cats and we know the smells of cats. You're quite
Yes,
right. That's a
yes,
brilliant,
yes,
brilliant
yes.
ideas. Brilliant ideas.